Hello, this is Scott McDonald, and today we're going to talk about what to name your practice. I have been fortunate enough to be at the christening of many, many practices in the last 35 years, and in fact, I have been a part of so many that, frankly, I can't remember them all. I've lost count. Now, during that time, I have come up with 8 rules that I think are pretty good for you to consider regarding naming. And we're going to start off with basically some rules that you should not do when it comes to naming your practice. So just stick with me, have a little fun with this. It should be an interesting little session. Number 1, never use a name that is difficult to pronounce or to spell. Have you ever heard of Umpqua Bank? Now, these are names from Eastern European countries, are especially difficult, and they still baffle me and, frankly, baffle patients. You could almost swear that there are too many letters involved in the name to really come out making sense. Now, further, they don't often sound like they do when you read them out loud. And that's why I'm just saying, when in doubt, you got to simplify it. There is no limit to the number of practices that fall into this category. Number 2, avoid being too clever. Now, do you remember the Oneaters that came from That Thing You Do, that movie? That's a good example. You see, the band wanted to be called The Wonders, but it came out Oneaters. Choosing obscure dental references may please your colleagues and give them a giggle, especially late at night after they've been drinking a little bit, but it isn't going to help your practice grow. And one recent example was All on 4 Dental. Another was Margins and More Dental. Sorry, folks, nobody really gets it. Number 3, ethnicity can work for or against you. Now, give you an example, the golden tree is a name favored by Chinese doctors because it has some cultural meaning that really doesn't translate particularly well. Another is 777 Dental. It seems that numerology among some people means a great deal, and to that particular ethnic group, it matters a lot. But actually, for everybody who's not of that group or language group, it's just confusing. Number 4, generic names that are like flat root beer. Now, I'm sure that you have seen Family Dental Care represented as the complete name of the practice. We are Complete Family Dental Care. Now, there are many to be thought that this is simple and it's direct, it's a no-lose. It's a loser. Unfortunately, while it does say what goes on here generally, it doesn't do much to identify why anyone would want to come to this office, and that has to be a part of the naming. Number 5, geographic names must be descriptive, unique, and specific. You cannot get away with like New York Dental or New York Children's and Family Dental. Look, everybody, in case you don't know, New York is a big place. The same is true for cities that are much smaller, and whenever you see one of these offices, we see that there are other offices that will tend to take a minor variation on the name and assume we're all good. Unfortunately, that also might be quite confusing. Now, for example, Boston Dental, Boston Greater Boston Family Dental, and Boston County Dental, and Boston, the best city in the world dental, or whatever. After the first practice with this geographic name, it doesn't work anymore. Number 6, unsupported claims violate Dental Practice Act. And I'll give you an example. Take Superior Dental, or Greatest Dental, even Ethical Dental. The assumption is that this office is the only place where the term will have any meaning. Oh, so this is where the best dentistry is found. Oh, well, the name does say superior after all, doesn't it? So it must mean, oh, come on, grow up. Number 7, never choose a double meaning name, ever. And I am really trying to avoid having to give too many of these because this is more like a stand-up comedy routine. But these are real names. Good Time Dental or Happy Ending Dentistry. It may have sounded terrific, again, late at night at a bar with your friend, but frankly, sober up, it's not a good idea. So, in fact, Gentle Dental Touch is really not a good idea either. I think you get my point. All right, now, 8. Names that don't mean anything. They only confuse patients. Now, once again, I don't want to give too many of these because someone will think, oh, that doesn't sound so bad. But Trifle Dental is one. Squatters Dental Care and Bombadil Family Dental all seem more to confuse than to answer what's going on. It's easy to make a list of silly and ineffective names, but it is hard work to come up with something more positive. And the purpose of this is really to help you come up with something more positive. So rather than make a list of practice names that I want you to consider, let's just remember that these rules will really help you no matter what you decide to do. And it will help you to make the big decision of your name. Now, there are 7 general rules that I kind of want you to pursue. And one is, consider the names of the doctors. I know it's old-fashioned, I know it's crazy, but consider it. It is okay to simplify your name if it's difficult to pronounce or spell. Amy's dental practice is just fine, especially if your name is Amabopoulos. Number 3, look at positive terms that are not overused. Strident, exacting, thorough. May not be your cup of tea, but they actually do say something favorable about the quality of the care, and that's what you're trying to do. Number 4, small geographic units that are descriptive are okay. Now, I'll give you an example. I live in Traverse Mountain, a small neighborhood in Lehi, Utah. So far, there is only one Traverse Mountain Dental. Office space is very limited, so it's unlikely there will be another one anytime very soon. Number 5, be specific. And I mean by this that the name of the practice should reflect a person, a place, or a feature. That will make the name relevant and memorable. And memorable is not a bad thing. It is hard to go wrong with that. Now, my fear in here is providing you too many examples because I know full well that there's somebody with a notebook and a pen who's trying to write all these things down to come up with something. Don't do that. I want you to be creative and do something unique, and you probably will be able to do well. I'll offer help in a minute. Number 6, remember your audience. Hippotherapy Associates is a great name for a practice if you happen to know that hippotherapy has nothing to do with hippos. Doctors often make the mistake of offering too many clinical names for procedures that folks just don't really understand. And I don't want you to confuse anybody. Number 7, be unique, especially when compared to your neighbors. That's why I mentioned earlier the danger of using place names that are going to be, frankly, repeated by everybody else because they don't have any originality. They're also usually not specific enough. If all practices end with family dental, you're probably not being sufficiently creative. Now listen, you're creative people, you're dentists, right? Now let me deal with a quick list of truths about practice names and their identities. And these are in no particular order. Too many dentists avoid a great name because they fear that if they sell the practice, the new buyer will not be happy. That almost never happens. A good name is transferable. Trust me, it works. They often worry that the name of the practice isn't going to be helpful to the buyer and they'll be put off by it. Sorry, it doesn't happen. All practice names need a logotype or a logo, by the way. The name of the practice thus needs to be represented by graphic elements. And that's part of the concept of branding. You are competing with not just other dentists in your area, but with every other business and practice in your community. So I want you to think this through because it's important. Get professional help if you want. Now, you don't need a name that everyone in the region is using, nor do you really need to create something like Xerox or Kodak. What name will give you a sense of pride is ultimately one of the things I want you to consider. What name could you be proud of working under? And remember, it has to be put on a sign. You cannot afford to wait, though, on the naming of the practice. You must make a decision as early in the process as you possibly can. Now, Mike Green and I have a little consulting service on the side that we can help you to name your practice well, to find just the perfect name, to fit the site, to fit the practice, and to fit you. Hey, everybody, visit us at drdemographics.com, and thanks so much for watching.